All right, we are going to start the webinar. So I am recording this. So those of you that are attending, thank you so much. And we will definitely send you the recording in about a day. It takes us to convert it to our YouTube channel. All right, thank you. Tactics to win the day. So calendar secrets. I'm always looking for tactics on how to better tame my task management. I call it task management because time management's really a farce. You can't really manage time. We all have the same number of hours in the day. So it's managing our discipline around the calendar and the task management. So that is really how I like to refer to it. So I've got some things today that I'm going to share that have really helped me. I've been a loan officer for a long time, and it took me a long time to figure out about the calendar. I've really only been ferocious about my calendar, I'd say probably for like 5 or 6 years. I've really, really gotten better at it. I handle about 30 closings a month, and I manage a team of 8, and I'm a, full-time working mom. So all of those things require a lot of task management and delegation. So these are some hacks I'm going to give you all today. Do use the chat button or raise your hand. I'll be watching that in order to answer y'all's questions. All right. Firstly, before we get into it, I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, I've got 2 YouTube channels where I put a lot of this stuff. I've got a Biz Tips channel, which is really little biz tips about, this will go on the Biz Tips channel, things about time management or gifting for clients, or you can see some of the topics there. So make sure to go to Loan with Jen Biz Tips on YouTube. And then I've also got a channel for those of you that are realtors. You can use it with your buyers. Loan with Jen, just Loan with Jen is a library. I've got over 300 videos now that you can just save hours of research time online and get answers to a lot of your questions. So please like, share, and subscribe to that. All right, so let's talk about distractions. So we've got the phone, we've got email, we've got the team. Some of us have a team and some don't, but all of us work with other people in some form or capacity, right? We've also got social media. So a couple of things that I've done really well that help me in this area, because it's a constant struggle. It will never go away. It will never get better unless we super work at it. So regarding the phone, if you do have someone that assists you, that's actually physically with you in the office, some people, have virtual assistants or whatever, give it to somebody else. Like I have someone in the office, and a few times a day, she'll take my phone and, she'll scribe the text for me and just make sure, she'll listen to messages and just make sure that we're getting to people quickly. Another thing with the phone, if you can't give it to someone else, make sure that you leave a really good voicemail message. I change my voicemail message every day. So I did it this morning. I have actually a phone timer that goes off at 7:20 actually every morning to change my voicemail. I just feel that it's more professional, I think, to let the person know that you're on top of it. I think it really speaks volumes just that you actually have the right date on there. There's nothing worse than calling someone and it's September and the person's voicemail says, oh, it's May 15th. And you're like, really? It's been 4 months and they haven't changed their voicemail. So be on top of it. Different days, you have different scheduling conflicts. So you might say on a particular day, today, I'm not able to return calls until after 2 p.m. If you have an urgent need or need a response quicker, do this, whether it's text me or call this working partner or whatever it is. So sometimes there's times you need to deflect. And I think it's important to let them know what your working hours are. So, today is Wednesday, the 15th. My hours after 5 p.m., my calls will be returned the next day, or maybe your time is 6 p.m. or maybe your time is 7 p.m. But whatever your hours are, let them know. And that way it's up to them whether they want to leave a message or not, right? It's in their hands. So I think giving the idea that we have this 24/7 flexibility is just not correct. We need to rest. We need to rejuvenate. We need to spend time with family. So make sure your message reflects that. So daily, I do it. I set the phone timer and I keep snoozing. Like I had to snooze it like 6 times this morning, but I finally did it. I might have done it at like 8:30, but I did it. I kept snoozing until I was able to do it really quick. Regarding email, I actually do delegate my email. I'm lucky that that same person that I give my phone to, a lot of her job is my email. So again, not all of you might have someone that can do that for you. It is the best thing ever. During business hours, I know that things are getting attended to. And so if you want to contact me on the side, I find that that's usually what people are super afraid to give up. But it is the most liberating. So if you need some coaching around that, I will definitely give you some tips on how my team and I manage that on email. It's great. It lets us help people at just a much higher level when someone is behind the scenes scouring my email to make sure we hit the urgent things really quickly. Daily team meetings. So whether you have a team or not, even if you are the team, right? Or, some of you manage a virtual assistant or an assistant. So whether you have a team of 1, a team of 2, a team of 9, a daily check-in meeting to just know what's on it for the day. So if it's yourself, daily team meeting would be emptying out your email, having 3 to 4 things that you always do every single time. And I would do it daily. I would do it at the same time every day, like 8 to 8:30. That's your personal time. You might read a few goals. You're going to set, I always start with a fresh, I don't know if you could sit here, but I start with a fresh notepad. I do not like a scribbly notepad. So I reorganize things and I make sure that my calendar, and we're going to go over calendar here in a little bit, is just super clean. Nothing can overlap. Like I can't do 2 things at one time. So I make sure everything is the way I want it. And then I have a tactic for that as well that I'll go over. So your daily team meeting might be with yourself, but it's really just setting firm what's going on for the day and what your top priorities are. Okay. So if you have a team, you could contact me on the side, just shoot me an email. And I'm happy to share with you a short agenda that I use with my team on a daily basis, just to get us centered. What's everybody's pulse? What's everybody's top priorities for that day? And that's a time when I delegate as well. Social media. So I'm really good at not going in there. I have people in my team that actually go in there for me to check things like, and it's totally something that you could outsource. There are people that they just do that one activity where you could pay someone, super part-time to just go in 5 to 10 hours a week to comment for you. Or I actually have someone give me a list, and every morning I get an email. They go through a top 50 list that I have. Facebook lets you segregate a list of top friends. It's in the settings. It's on like the left-hand side bar that you can identify what your top friends are. You can have any amount that you want. And she goes just to those people and she lets me know in an email every morning what's going on that I might need to know about. Someone might have had a baby or a birthday or, whatever it is, things that we've defined as more important that I might want to make a phone call on. So it's been really, really helpful so that I don't feel like I have to be in there constantly. And then when you are in there, schedule yourself time a couple of times a day. But if you've got someone behind the scenes that might be helping you comment and create engagement, that can really go a long, and then they just give you a daily report that could go a long way. So just some ideas for you guys there on social media. Okay. All right. And if there's any questions, again, just put it in the chat and I'll watch it. So it's interesting. It's a good exercise and I want y'all to do it right now with me. In fact, I'm going to do it again myself. We're going to figure out what our time is actually worth per hour. So I want you to take your salary, let's just say, what you made last year. And I want you to divide that by 52 weeks. Let's see, divide that by 52 and then divide that by 40 hours in a week. Let's just say that you work 40 hours a week. I know a lot of you work a lot more, but it'll just even out with, I know we take vacations and stuff. So then divide that by 40 and that'll give you a per hour. So I want you to stop and do that right now. So I'm going to be quiet for just a minute. Okay, so I'm worth $360 an hour. So it's worth it for me to hire someone. If I've got some activities that I'm not getting to, I need to delegate. And so it's worth it for me to hire someone, maybe at 20, 25, depending on what you're having them do. It's worth it for me to hire somebody to help me so that I can delegate that to them to get certain things done. So I want you guys to just think about that. That has been one of the most valuable lessons as I transitioned from just a standalone loan officer. So I've done this for 26 years now, and I didn't have an assistant really until about year 13 or 14. So I spent a long time, or no, sorry, year 8. Sorry, my main assistant has been with me now 18 years. So 8 or 9 years, I was kind of flying solo. And it got to a point where I had more people that were searching for me of referrals than I could handle. And I did not want to turn people away. And so I decided the only way that I was going to be able to serve people at a higher level was to diversify and to hire. So if you figure out what you're worth, and if you can hire someone, usually I'm hoping less than that, to help you, it's going to pay for itself in more ways than one. Also, number of hours worked. I know a lot of realtors anyway, which is most of my referrals, work a lot of hours. And so it's easy to get pulled in a lot of different directions. So that was just an exercise that I hope helps you guys. And if you want to talk on the side, I've managed people for a lot of years. Currently, I have 8 people on my team that I manage. So I've been there, done that. Happy to give you some pep talks on how to do that on the side. So you can always email me separately. All right, let's talk about weekly schedule. So this is just a sample. Actually, this has too much white space. We're going to see an example here in a little bit that's got things filled in. So probably a lot of you already have a calendar that you're using. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to map out on a piece of paper before you plug it into your calendar a perfect week at a glance. I do have a form for that. So again, if you want that, you can just, email me separately, or you could put something here in the chat that you want it and we'll send it to you. I've got like a editable form that you could do. So I like to map out my calendar prior to plugging it into my calendar because I like to move things around. So this is what a daily schedule, weekly schedule could look like. But I'm going to encourage you, we're going to see a sample here in a little bit that's going to be a little bit more robust. But what I'll let you know is that when I really started super honoring my calendar and actually looking at it all the time for what I need to do next, I was more productive. So I also, on the side, in addition to mortgage, I coach top lenders in the nation for a company called Core Training. So I'm in my 9th year of that. So I've coached top performing lenders now for that 9 years. And so I've coached over 150 people. And I can tell you that I have a lot of experience with getting them focused on a calendar, because usually when I get a hold of them in the beginning, they have a calendar, but they're not using it. So if that sounds like you, my first suggestion is map it out. And it's like training the muscle. Like, you're not going to run a marathon without first running a mile. So first you have to train yourself to constantly go to the calendar. I would not put tasks in the calendar ever, only things that must get done, like an appointment with a client or a phone call. I schedule phone calls all day long 15-minute increments, back to back to back. So if you saw my calendar, there's no white space by the end of the day. If there is in the morning, it's definitely filled by the afternoon because I've got things in there. So this is just giving you some examples of types of things that, if you're a realtor, you would definitely have, or any business person, coffee with someone, or a Zoom. Zoom is popular now, just with a lot of more people doing virtual, a showing, power hour. We're going to go in what a power hour is. That's a major tactic to save the day on that. You might be recording email. You might do a builder milk route. You might be trying to get a new builder community, or some milk route is, milk, like, I don't know why it's called a milk route, but someone in the business tagged that milk route. So, listing appointment, for example. So these are the types of things that are in your calendar. And again, we're going to go through in a couple of slides exactly some more robust calendaring text on that. So I do have a question. What calendar do I use? I use Outlook. So my calendar I use 4 to 5 different colors. I like colors because I can, green activity is like meetings with clients, meetings with referral partners. That's green. And then if I have meetings with team members, I put that orange, kind of like it's non-income producing activity time. So I use a few colors on my calendar, but I use Outlook for that. And by the way, I do business and personal all on the same calendar. I mean, I have my family calendar at home. That's different. But for like if I'm going to work out or go have lunch with a friend or doctor's appointment, I put it all on the very same calendar. So thanks for the question. Okay. So more tactics for the daily calendar. So remember, we talked about having a daily team meeting with yourself or with your team member every morning, same time every day, like clockwork. After you rearrange some things and you really plan your day, you should print a physical copy of the calendar. This helps in a couple of ways. Number one, sometimes our phone is just too dang small. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, I've missed a time before where it was a call at 11:15 and it looks like it's 11:30 on the phone if I'm not at the desk computer, and I might miss it. So I like it printed out. I print it on legal paper actually, and it just really is expanded, and I put it on my desk. And then I can write on it as the day goes on as well. So it's nice to just see the calendar in one swoop printed on my desk. So that's, and you can have an assistant do that for you as well if you're in the office with somebody. If you do have an assistant, and I do, they are in charge of my schedule. So if I need something put in there, usually it's her that does it. We go over my calendar several times a day. And then she's also putting in their appointments with clients. Like, actually, we just had our daily team meeting before this webinar, and we went over, our hot tasks for the day, who applied last night. Well, those people, whoever applied last night in our portal, triggers who's going to be on my calendar today. And then I spit out another 4 or 5 people that, hey, I need to get calls with these 3 people that want to refi. I need a call with this realtor. And so she's now playing around with my calendar, putting people in that white space that I talked about that I don't want to ever have. So she's scheduling 15-minute increment appointments in my calendar. And that's something, an assistant, even if they're virtual, can do. And these days, I'll be honest with you, a lot is done by text. Like, we text to talk all the time. And we find that clients are very amenable to that. So times have really changed over the last several years. So you can have an associate, an assistant, or you can text the client and say, Mr. Smith, are you able to talk at 10 o'clock or 2:15 for a 10-minute intro call to talk about, your buying plans? Whatever it is, I schedule a call all the time. I do not talk to anyone randomly ever, hardly ever anymore. unless it's one of my referral partners calling. And of course I can see it on my phone. If I'm able to answer, I will. Otherwise, I'll, that little text responder that says, can't talk right now or whatever. I'll just do a custom response and say, can I call you in 10 minutes or can I call you at the top of the hour or whatever it is. But I hardly am able to talk to anyone randomly. So I and my assistant helps me schedule on the calendar, but it can work for you as well, for yourself, scheduling a time to talk to people. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about the calendar in a couple more slides. So I would say as you're doing this, just, a word of advice, it's not going to be perfect in the beginning. I constantly am working on taming my task management all the time. And just when I think I've mastered it, I don't. So it's something that has to be exercised every single day, just like we have to treadmill and we got to do the weights and we got to do the biceps, and it's the same thing. And so just start by mastering one day and really paying attention and conquering everything that you've set out on your day. The calendar is, I would say it's success if you get it 80% of the time. Things have to move around. There's urgent things that come up. I get it. But 80% of the time can probably be tamed a lot more than you think it can. So sticking to it is it's just the main thing. And in the students that I coach, it probably takes me about 3 months to really get them consistent about the calendar. And I have to talk to them about it and talk to them about it and talk to them about it. And they finally get it. I hope it does not take you that long, but it's great once it is, because you really are going to get more done than you really think that you would. So having that white space is dangerous, because you're going to find something to do. It just might not be what you had intended. So we're going to, again, go through that a lot more here in just a sec. All right. So the first thing about time blocking. So now we're going to talk a little more specific about the calendar. The first thing is a start time and an end time. So I've already talked about the daily team meeting. I really recommend that you start at the same time every day, almost every day. Like, I know that my daily team meeting is every day at 9:30. And if you have assistants, I would not start the daily team meeting for at least 30 to 45 minutes after what their start time is. So if they come in at 8:30, I would not have a daily team meeting sooner than 9:15, because they need time to get in, get organized, sweep their email, to get their tasks under control for the day. That's just word of advice. So I know my team is 9:30, so I really start 8:30 on most days. And I have a few days that I start earlier. And that lets me get the kids out the door and, kiss them on the forehead and do the things that I, need to work out, do the things that I need to do. So whatever that looks like for you, maybe you start at 10, I don't know, but whatever it is, have your routine and stick to it 80% of the time. Okay. So work backwards with all the things that you need to get done. Some people prefer to work more at night. Some people, I prefer to work, earlier because I have small children. So, a couple of days a week, I actually start at 7. So I have theme days, which we'll go over here in a sec, but start time, same time every day really gives you a sense of purpose in the morning for sure. All right. Now, again, we're going in a little bit deeper on really creating that perfect calendar. So personal time, you should always put in there first when you're doing your perfect week at a glance. And then you're working backwards from there. So do you take kids to school? Do you pick them up? Do you, when is the family time? When is the kids' baseball practice? Whatever it is that right now. That's why seasons change, your calendar will change, your personal time will change. So I always start with that. And that's why I do definitely put personal stuff on my calendar, and I color personal stuff yellow, just the color that I've chosen. That's my family time on there and personal time. Date night, you might want to do that once a week. I actually just scheduled a date night with one kid tonight and one kid tomorrow night. So I don't always do both of them each week, but it's in there and I'm going to work around it. And I've got to move some things around to make sure that I'm, with them at a certain time. So power hour is what my secret tactic is for you to have 1 hour, a power hour of proactive outbound calling per day. I've got some theme days I'm going to share with you in a couple of slides, but that 1 day, 1 hour per day, 5 days a week. And we've got different theme days on who are you going to call 5 days a week. I've got some hints for you on that. So having that in there, mine is normally 10 to 11. And then like today, it's 10 o'clock right now. It's actually 10:30. So I moved mine around knowing that I was going to do this today, but normally it's 10 to 11. Appointments with clients. For me, I talk to and do results calls with clients between 2 and 5. But I know that in the morning, I have coverage because I have a team that helps me. So they don't go unanswered in the morning. So make sure before you have a schedule like that, like maybe you would have an hour in the morning, like, maybe 9 to 10 or 10 to 11. Maybe that's your time where you do client callbacks and scheduled client calls for the morning time to cover those clients that need the morning. And then afternoon is my heavy time to have results calls with clients. We've pre-approved them and I have the results call with them. So for me, that's normally 2 to 5 in the afternoon. Team meetings, definitely I've got team meetings on there. Actually, for me, that's higher up on the hierarchy, kind of after the power hour, because the team meetings, I try to get out of the way in the morning because, things get crazier as the day goes on. Team meetings in the afternoon is usually not a good thing. So I do that definitely in the morning time. And then, and by the way, no team meeting should last more than 30 minutes. It's just too long. People can't focus that long, including myself. And I think it needs to be in and out. So really using agendas for that, make sure you have just really stay organized on these team meetings. And then some administrative duties. You've got things that are administrative you've got to do. I've got to do, pre-approval workups. I've got to do or review what my team has worked up before I send it to a client. I've got to do PowerPoints and, like this PowerPoint, I had to block out time for that. So things that are administrative that you have to do, put a block of time in. I'm usually much better in the morning. So I do it early before my phone starts ringing. You might be a night owl. You might want to do stuff like that at night or on a Saturday morning or whatever. So those types of things have to be done and they're recurring. Some of them are administrative duties daily. You've got to have time to write up offers, or you've got to have time. And I know the realtors are probably thinking, Jennifer doesn't get it. I have to write offers all the time, quickly, with just drop everything. Totally get it. But you can still have some administrative time in the day, a little bit in the morning and a little bit at night to play catch up, to where if you have administrative time from 11 to 11:30, you've made your morning calls and then that you can play catch up for 30 minutes. And then in the afternoon, if that you can do kind of a 5 to 6 maybe, or 4 to 5, I don't know, your time is going to be your time to play catch up with stuff that's happened during the day. For the most part, hopefully 80% of the time you can stick to it. And the other 20% is a time where you have to drop everything. You have to move stuff on your calendar around. I super get it. I have that challenge as well. But again, the calendar is meant to follow 80% of the time. Okay. So now this looks super perfect, right? Like totally blocked, but it totally can happen this way. And if you were to look at my calendar right now, it is fully blocked with, now Thursday and Friday have some white space in it, but I do the same things every day, pretty much at the same time. And then when I need to move things around because I'm having lunch with someone and it cuts into something else, with notice, I can move other stuff around that I've got pre-programmed in there. But for the most time, most of the time, things are pre-programmed in there, and then I force people into those slots that work with the way that I want my schedule to look. So this is just one example of a perfect work week. Okay, so red time is for this particular sample, mostly in the meeting, and then 10 to 11 are those green time, proactive power hour, proactive calling time. I've experimented with a lot of different times, and that usually needs to get done in the morning because as the day goes on, let's be super real with ourselves. We get distracted and fires come up and our hair is on fire. I mean, it happens to all of us, especially if you're in real estate or mortgage. That's just the business we've chosen, is tight timelines and tight deadlines, lots to be done. But you can program it in here. You can do it. It just takes focus, and it takes work. This is just another example, kind of printed in a different way. Some people prefer, this is a daily, some people prefer it out this way, on a daily schedule example that could print out of your calendar. So I told you we were going to go over power hours. So I'm really going to kind of end with, we're towards, the end of the presentation. So power hour, because if nothing else fails, I want y'all to have a successful feeling at the end of every day that you had 1 hour of proactive activity. Because I know if you're like me, I mean, this happens to me a lot where I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, where did the day go? And usually when I have that feeling, it is when I had a bunch of white space on my calendar, which hardly ever happens. So I don't feel that way often anymore, since I've gotten really dedicated to my calendar and knowing exactly what's happening when at all times. So I would, if you're in an office environment with other people, put a do not disturb sign on your door, like, calls in progress, don't disturb me. There's nothing worse than you're like totally into it and focused, and then someone walks in the door and they're like, hey. So just do what you can to eliminate distractions. So if you're working from home, maybe have an agreement with your family, like, hey, when you see my red light, you can have a light on outside the door, or shut the door, put a sign, whatever it is, tell them not to disturb you when that is happening. Anything else that you have to do for distractions? I have to clear my day. Like, I've got a list today. Today, my theme day for Wednesday is calling pre-approved buyers, check in, see how they're doing. So I've got a list that I've printed. It's on my desk already. Actually, I'm looking at it in the corner. And I have to shut down my email so it doesn't, alert me, and notifications and all that makes noise and whatever. I don't want any of those distractions. So I take the list, I turn and have the phone, and I dial and talk to people, and I take my pen and I write notes, and I'll transcribe and take care of the notes after I finish calling, the 15 people to 20 that are on my list for the day. And I'm just super focused in that 1 hour. So that's what a power hour means, is that you're powering through the phone calls. So I call that green time because that's my very most proactive time where I'm following up with people. Okay. So on the theme days, I promised you that I would go through the theme days of who you could be prepared to call. And if you're not a realtor and you're watching this, you could totally translate a lot of this into what any business cycle has very similar, could have very similar themes. Okay. So Mondays would be your top VIP, very important people. Usually these are referral partners, people that over the years refer you over and over again, several times a year. They could be financial planners, attorneys. They could just be movers and shakers in the community. They could own an AC company. Like, it doesn't matter. It's someone who you've identified as being a very important referral partner to your business where you guys really generate off of each other. So the first thing you have to do to be able to execute this theme call, this theme day, is have your list. So if you don't have this list somehow segmented in your database, I super suggest that you take some time to just identify. And if you don't have 50 and you're just kind of starting out, have 20. Just have a list, and then you can be building upon it. Now, Tuesday, status calls. So I do my status calls to all of the realtors on both sides of the transaction. And we do it to our clients as well, of exactly what's going on. It's proactive. Now, it doesn't mean that we don't talk to them on a Friday. It just means that all of our proactive outbound, hey, this is your Tuesday status update, is on Tuesday. And I promise it at the beginning of the sales cycle. Without fail, every week, once a week, proactively, without fail, you will hear from me on what's going on. So it doesn't matter if you sell widgets or whatever service or cars, or it doesn't matter. Anybody could have Tuesday update calls for their clients that are in process in the final sales cycle right now to give updates. Okay. And then you could also use that time for people that are, your more hot leads, like maybe they're super close to pulling the trigger. Maybe you want to make sure, hey, or if you're a realtor, like, hey, are we going to go out and see houses this weekend? You can really set the stage for the rest of your week. Once you get done with your clients that are going to be in closing, either buyers or sellers, you could go to the, super, super hot leads there. Now, on Wednesday, I say hot leads as well. These are maybe a different kind of, maybe warm leads, like people that they're in the cycle, that they're looking, you're just calling to check in. They may not be buying in the next 30 days, but maybe they're buying in the next, 60 to 90 days. So for me, these are people that are out looking, and they are definitely, they need follow-up. I mean, anyone who's buying in the next 90 days is on this list for me. And I'm calling them usually every couple weeks. I don't want to call them every week because I don't want them to think like I'm stalking or anything, but I have a cycle where I, rotate them in and out. So, in an power hour, I can get through usually 20 calls. So if I have an overage, I'll either schedule another power hour. Usually I'll have it overflow. I'll usually schedule an extra one on like a Saturday. Saturdays are great times to get a hold of people in my business cycle, or, later in the afternoon on Thursday or Friday. Now, Thursdays, you could call your past clients. So there's a couple of choices here. Just like you have a top VIP 50 list, I have a top 50 client list. So, I've closed a lot of loans in 26 years, and I do have a list of 50. I actually it's a little bit larger than that are just my all-time favorites. They continue to refer me every year. They themselves have bought at this point, 5+ houses from us. Those are who top clients would be that you really, really want to keep in touch with. You would invite them over to your house for dinner, possibly. So this list, if you don't have one, is good to have. So on Thursday, you could call 10 of the 50. You'd cycle through them in 5 weeks. If you call 10 this week, next week, call another 10. And then after you call those top clients, you also want to have a system for going into your other past clients. So you've got your favorite 50, but then what about all the other that aren't on the top 50? Well, you've got to have a process for calling them as well. So you could just divvy up the list in several different ways. And you could divvy it up by year. You could divvy it up by, alphabet of the last name. But Thursday is the day where you call past clients. Okay. And check in. Just, hey, this is your annual review. I mean, there's different reasons to call past clients. So some of my favorite, happy house anniversary this month, 3 years ago, you bought your house. How are you doing? Have you done any remodel? Do you need the name of any contractors? Like, you can just have a script of a few things that you could go towards to keep in touch. They really do want to hear from you. I will just say, no matter what business you're in, your clients want to know that you care about them. And I hear often from people that like after 3 to 4 years, they really can't remember who their agent was. Like, oh gosh, I don't remember like who. And they are tickled to death when you remember them and when you take the time to reach out to them. Again, it doesn't matter what business you're in, let them hear from you. Okay. And so have a system for that. So for me, it's Thursdays. Now on Fridays could be one of several different topics. You could just be cold calling for new, maybe you've got some cards of some people from a business event, or a friend referred someone that you need to connect with. So this is a day where you can just really be making some new connections, new business people, new builders, just kind of a miscellaneous day. So you could say, yep, I'm going to take these cards that I've accumulated this week, and I know that my day to call on these is Friday. So that could be your day. Everyone's always in a good mood on Friday. So it's a good day to call new people. So these are examples of theme days. And again, I know that it says realtor, but it can apply to any business of anyone that's watching this. So I hope that this helps just give you just some new, ammo of what you could be focusing on in that power hour. So I do have a question. Thank you so much. Do text count? Not really. So if I try to reach them, I really want them to hear my voice. So I would prefer to dump a voicemail in their phone, or I'm sending a lot more video text. I just feel like they need to hear your voice. They need to see you. It's more genuine. So if I don't answer them by phone, I'm usually doing a video text now. I just think it's more special and personal. I think just texting maybe every once in a while, but I really want to encourage you to like super connect with them. And I think the video text will do that. When you're, following up, and if you're only calling the past client twice a year, as you go through your rotation, a phone call or a voicemail or a video text is more powerful than just a text. So hope that answers your question. All right. I want to take a minute. I know that, I hope you guys have gotten just a few tactics. I want to take a minute, and right now, while things are fresh on your mind, I want you to write down a maximum of 3 things that you will implement just based on maybe some things that you heard today, which I know none of this is rocket science, but I think sometimes we just have to hear it repetitively before it just starts to click. I know with me, that's how I learn, is sometimes I don't get it the first time, but then I hear it 3, 4, 5 times and I'm like, okay, maybe I should be doing this. So just take a minute to let y'all write that down and see if there's any more questions.
Legacy Mutual Mortgage is an equal housing opportunity lender. The opinions expressed here do not reflect those of Legacy Mutual Mortgage.